So this, the other thing we got sent was the Shine EP from Richmond, Virginia's Roseneath. Now, we were sent this by Jason from Breaths. You might remember that we covered Jason's one-man extreme metal project, Breaths, and the album Lined in Silver, which sort of mixed black metal with shoegaze, a bit of grunge and a bit of post-hardcore. And since we reviewed that album, he's released another album, another Breaths album, an instrumental version of that album, a split 2-track EP with Swedish post-metal outfit Dimwind, a weird instrumental mood piece, which is also under the name of Breaths, but with a totally different vibe, and then this, I suppose, which is described as sort of grunge / shoegaze / post-hardcore. And I mean, what does that sound like? Well, it pretty much sounds like Breaths, but with this sort of extreme metal stuff taken out. Which is...
it's not a bad thing.
It's definitely not a bad thing, because those sort of grunge and post-hardcore elements were things that I definitely picked out from Lined in Silver as big plus points, certainly. On this one, Jason's brought his friend Brian in for some guitars and bass, so it is technically a band this time, and I imagine playing this live there would be some more members added as well. But you can see Jason's touches all over this album. He's sort of mixing bands like Silverchair, Nirvana, maybe Smashing Pumpkins, with the likes of sort of Quicksand and Super Heaven. There's definitely Deftones in there, and maybe a bit of Thursday, and even some Rival Schools, I would say. So there's a lot of kind of sort of 90s and maybe early noughties kind of sounds on here. What do you think of this EP then?
Yeah, I liked it, man. Upon the first listen, it really did kind of hit a nerve for me. As you said, and I think they described themselves online as kind of taking influence from 90s, early noughties, alternative classics, post-hardcore, shoegaze bands, and tried to create something new yet nostalgic. And absolutely, you can see all those bands that you've kind of mentioned there. The first track, Blurred and Bent, I love that kind of initial grunt of that kind of fuzzed up guitar coupled with this kind of ethereal, spangly, almost kind of like Sonic Youth-esque spectral guitar frills. I think like the second track, By a Thread, the band kind of kick things up a gear with that track. The guitars certainly appear to have a bit more urgency about them. The song really kind of hits a groove around the kind of 2 minute kind of 50 mark. There's a really kind of big moment in the song with this kind of repetition of the song's title, By a Thread, which I found to be a kind of real earthworm, real earworm, sorry.
Earthworm Jim.
Earthworm Jim, and as I've written in my notes here, it's kind of guaranteed to be one that you'll be singing along to, as I absolutely did. And I think you're right. When you're kind of talking about kind of Breaths and kind of this album sounding like Breaths, but with all the kind of metal and more kind of hardcore stuff kind of taken out of it. Because certainly when we were listening to Breaths, it was kind of Jason's vocals that kind of really stood out for me. And obviously there's a lot more of that in here, and something that I really kind of dug. I think the third track, Say Never, I've described that as kind of perfectly executed post-hardcore number, which opens with this almost anthemic kind of vocals and lyrics. They do a good job of creating that quite loud dynamic with kind of soaring melodies. Again, another song that you can't help but kind of sing along to or kind of bob your head along to. I got pure Deftones vibe and Chasing Ghosts as well. But yeah, it's a really good album, man. I suppose my only criticism, there's some really hooky moments, as on a thread By a Thread that I just kind of mentioned. And I think I would like a bit more of those types of moments, I suppose. But in a 5-track EP, you're obviously going to be a bit limited.
Yeah, I think that would be my criticism as well, is that because the vocals are sort of quite ethereal, quite shoegazy, they don't change up all that much. So it maybe gets a little bit samey, but to be fair, I quite like that style, but I would maybe like a little bit more variety. But in general, I really like this. You know, there's big grunge riffs. You know, that the opening track, Blurred and Bent, like you said, has those big heavy riffs, and there's like a sort of open guitar that sounds quite Nirvana-esque. You've got some of the kind of lyrics, like on By a Thread, you've got a section that says, now you know you're not in control and you never were. Now you know how it feels to be barely hanging on. Just really quite emo and angsty. And I think there's this EP channels that kind of feeling quite well. And the next track, Say Never, is kind of a perfect example of what I mean by that. To me, that sounds pretty much like a Newfound Glory-esque pop-punk song slowed down to an absolute crawl. Like, and I did a little experiment with this because I was convinced.
Did you?
I was convinced that if you sped it up, it would sound like a pop-punk song. So I went onto YouTube and played it at double speed, and it makes it a little bit distorted, but it's absolutely like a pop punk song. So what I was going to do is get you to go and do that right now, but I don't know if you're going to be able to actually hear it through your headphones, given that we had issues earlier.
Given the problem, I'll try.
But
I'll try.
You know how to change the speed settings on YouTube?
I'm not sure actually.
You can click the little, there's like a little gear icon near like the bottom of the video, and you can change the playback speed and just put it to double speed and then try and listen to it. And I'm pretty sure I'm not talking shite. But yeah, I think yeah, you speed that up and it sounds like very much like a pop punk song.
Gutting, man. It's not going to let me do it whilst we're recording. Gutting. Oh well, I'll do it.
Try it at some point and let me know what you think. But I'm convinced that it sounds like a proper pop punk song, just in slow motion. This is a really good EP. If you grew up sort of around the same time as we did, you'll probably have kind of fond memories of like some of the heavy music from the 90s and the noughties, then you should get a lot out of this. And if you liked Lined in Silver, you'll probably like this as well.
Yeah.
Just with, you know, if you didn't like the screaming on Lined in Silver, then you might actually prefer this. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. What did you score this?
To be fair, mate, I've given it a 7.
Yeah, I'd say a 7 or an 8.
Yeah,
but it's pretty good, and I mean it's only a 5-track EP.
I think that's it, man. Like I think, yeah, as a wee kind of sample of what's to come. Like yeah, I think yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with a kind of full album.
Yeah. I would quite like Jason to record a pop punk album. I think that would be awesome. So Jason, if you're listening,
hear my call.
I want a yeah. Hear my call. Cool. Okay, so that was.
Did you expect an answer there? Like you're just kind of like looking up.
So waiting for the pop punk gods to grant my. Waiting for the pop punk gods to grant my wishes. Okay, so that was the Shine EP from Roseneath.
It's not finished. It's finished.